the topic of today is how the artificial intelligence will help the Internet of Things. Or in other words is, how can you use the AI with IoT? IoT is the new, kids in the block here, and the artificial intelligence is not new. We know about artificial intelligence for many, many years. Many things happen that now AI is becoming literally a hot topic because of the power of these processors we have, because of the memory we have, the memory capabilities we have in the devices, and because of the availability of the access point, which is the smartphone. And at the top of that one is the data. The availability of the data for us all over the world became the main factor for the pushing for the artificial intelligence. So this is who I am. I work at the College of Engineering of San Jose State in San Jose, California. This is a little bit about myself. I'll give you guys 1 minute or 2 minutes to read, a little bit about it, and then we're going to go to the topic of the webinar, which is what is the role of the artificial intelligence in IoT. The one thing I would like to use to approach the topic of AI and IoT is to try to explain both of them, and then merge them at the end and see how they can help each other. I was actually in an interview with one of the local stations, and the question raised there is, how can you explain IoT very simply to somebody who heard about it before, he or she, and got the information about it, but they don't understand exactly what is IoT. I mean, a very simple example of this is you wake up in the morning, you look at the mirror. It's a smart mirror. The mirror will tell you that you're sick, and will give you information that I got an appointment for you with the doctor, and I called Uber, for example, or Lyft to come and pick you up. I set up your appointment with the doctor already, and then I moved all your appointments for today to another day. And then after that, the Uber will take you back home, and then the pharmacy will send you the medication by drones, and that container of the medication will have a sensor. If it's below a certain number, that will trigger a chain of actions by the doctor and by the pharmacy, and you receive the refill by a drones there. And this is how it is, really. This is how it's the simplest example of IoT. Another example of IoT is smart forks, where when you eat, it's going to tell you if you're eating too fast, slow down, because that's not healthy to you. And the same thing is having an IP address for every part of your body, your heart, your liver, and that will the doctor can access that one and check it and prescribe the medication for you, so he or she the doctor can look at it and check your health without leaving your seat. So some examples of this, some examples of what is the IoT here, and businesses, they understand that. I mean, we're not in the stage where it's a new buzzword. We're really past that point, and Gartner really confirmed that. We're at the point where, okay, so now what's in it for us? How can we use that? With so many of the CEOs here and business executives in the Valley, and their first question is, okay, I'm in this business, how can I include IoT in my business plan, in my vision? How can I make it part of my digital transformation, which is another buzzword that we see and we hear, and companies like SAP, companies like IBM, and you name it, all these companies are pushing for the digital transformation, and the IoT will be in the heart of that transformation. So they understand it. Businesses, they understand that the IoT is really important for them. Now, before I proceed to the next one and dig deep into the IoT benefits for the businesses, for new products, new services, for both sides of both ends of the IO, the customers and the businesses, there are two areas of the IoT which is really seeing a rush of competition, startups, a rush of companies are really investing in this one. The first one is security. The second one is analytics. And today we're going to talk about analytics, which is the artificial intelligence part of that. So when we talk about security, we're talking about a big, important part of it, which is something bothering everybody. And I have some work in that, in both fields, and especially in the security. My main concern is blockchain. And blockchain is another area that is not part of today. presentation, but that's one of the answers for the security. How can we use the blockchain technology in that field? On the other side of the coin, you're talking about analytics, and this is where we'll have the artificial intelligence is working very hard here. Now, you can see that it's basically transformation, ushering into new era of companies running through the operations and engaging with the customers. My belief that the distance between you as a business and the consumer should be zero, which means you can see, you can hear, you can feel what the customer or the consumer would like to have, to do, to get, in no time, because the delay in this reaction opens the door for competition, for somebody who is faster than you, smarter than you, closer than you. And that's the key thing. And that's why IoT will help in shortening the distance and minimizing the distance between the consumers and between the businesses. But here's a big problem here, which is everybody understand that one is in the last 3 years, actually in 2015 and upward, you're talking about the volume of the data we receive. We're talking about huge volume of data coming from multiple sources, structured and unstructured data, and deal with it and to go through that one is very important. I was looking at some research, and that research is talking about how much time the data scientists spend on the data and to prepare the data. And it's about 8% of their time to clean the data, to make sure the data is really clean and it's good and people can see that. If you spend as a data scientist in preparation 80% of your time to prepare the data so it can be clean and can be usable, that's a challenge. And this is where we will see how the artificial intelligence will help. And given this data is coming from IoT and from all these sensors, spread all over the place, that's another challenge you have here. The simple definition of IoT, it's just to, in a technical term, is interrelated system. It's an interrelated system: physical, actuator, virtual objects, people, services, and platform. That's just to put it in a simple term here. And networks, of course, that will connect them together. The practical examples of the IoT application today is you can see this one away from the futuristic example I gave you about the smart mirror or about an IP address for every part of your body, or the fork here is what we see in IoT hubs like Siri, like you're talking about Google Home. All these when you mention the big companies, this is their grand plan, is to have a hub like Siri that will, or Alexa, a big example of Amazon here, Watson from IBM, or Leonardo from SAP. All these are the hubs for their IoT platforms, where they are using us or our information to train the hub so it can understand this better. I mean, Siri, when you get the phone, is not Siri a year from ownership, or later. Why? Because the system trained by itself to understand what is your behavior, your holidays, and so on and so on. Same thing goes with Alexa, same thing goes with other things. So those are examples, or those are the main examples of how the big companies are trying to introduce the IoT by introducing the hub and then connecting the pieces to that. And this is another example. The other one is the driverless cars or the autonomous cars. This is another example of the application of IoT. Big phase of IoT that is really favored by manufacturers and most likely, I mean, it's not in the United States. I mean, talking about the industry 4.0, it's not a buzz term as when you talk about it in Europe. And I still remember how many students from Europe came to the Silicon Valley, and I met with some of them, and how many executives came to the Silicon Valley, and what's in their mind is Industry 4.0, the Industry Revolution 4.0. It is the same as the IoT, just In the case of the more focus on the manufacturing part, more focus on the factories, more focus on the, on the big picture here. While here in the United States, the more focus on the consumers. You look at how much the companies are spending for, on the consumer products, because they see the market there. And smart city is another example. Smart government is an example for when we talk about the big picture here. So this is just one way of understanding what is IoT. Different forecasts, and Gartner is just one of them. There are actually IDC, there's Cisco, there are so many of them are predicting that they will how many connected things, and things can go from a simple sensor to a huge computer here, or a huge airport, connected here, in the use by the world, by worldwide 20 billion or 21 billion devices, but some of them they go up to 50 billion, like Cisco, they say it will be 50 billion devices connected. Just thinking about it, 50 billion devices that is running nonstop, and 50 billion devices, giving this information to different companies. This data itself is the key thing. It is, as somebody said, data is the new oil. It's not the gold, it's not the oil, it's the data. So data itself, if we can get data and process it and get insight out of data, then we're actually hitting the lottery here. And that's why it's very important to understand the source of the data, to process the data, to have the insight of data, and this will help in the in many sectors. One of the biggest sectors that people look at it is the health care sector, which is where IoT will help a lot. It's going to be like $117 billion industry, and an estimate here for just the health. And the health here is very important because we can relate to that. I mean, if somebody will take care of me because they can sense what I'm doing, especially if you are active, or if you are sick, or if you are in a situation where you need somebody to monitor your vital signs, then that's very important. And we can do this one without involving too many human factors here, too many people in that, by having the devices that will provide this one centralized to your doctor. The doctor can monitor this on his or her smartphone, or have some kind of algorithm which will alert them that your patient number 2 and 2 is and seconds and milliseconds matters in this process. That's why the focus on the healthcare is big in IoT. I have seen in many conferences so much focus on sensors for kids, for elderly, for all the activities of people who need care. And that is the difference here. We have the application, we already have the the need. We'd like to fit that need with whatever technology to get that to get into the customer and tell the customers we have an answer for you. And about 250 million connected vehicles on the road will be the same year. And it's not that far, when it comes to companies like, now I'm not talking about Tesla. Tesla started that revolution for this, which is about 15 minutes from where I'm talking to you guys and ladies here. I'm talking about in general, connected. Your car, if you have a car after a certain year, it's really connected. I mean, with GPS, with all these screens here, that is connected one, and that's and the story of the autonomous cars and how the autonomous car, and Intel is really big in that, and I mean I have to give them credit for this. One of my friends, she's really working on a project like this with Intel, which is cars are very important to make sure that we don't have the luxury of delay. Microseconds, milliseconds means life or death for me. Should I hit the brake, or should I slow? Should I, go left, right? All these things has to be done, in fractions of seconds. And that bandwidth on the size of the information, on the algorithm use, and on the processing, and then go back and give them the decision about what to do. So this is another issue for the IoT. Now, so we built a case for the IoT and how the IoT is beautiful, nice, can help us, can make our life much better, easier, and give us time to focus on other important issues instead of the repetitive issues here. Here's the artificial intelligence. It's coined as the brain It's the brain that will enable analytics and decision making from the data you're collecting. So you have the muscles, which is the IoT, and the brain, which is the artificial intelligence. In other words, you have the IoT collecting, you have the AI processing, and then by the end of the day, the human will have that final say in that and about the decision making process here. The examples I gave you about Siri and about Google Home and about Amazon Alexa is a prime example of both, because you're talking about devices connected. At the same time, you're talking about the processing. And it's a simple level of intelligence that keep building up, over time. And Alexa will get better. Siri will get much better. And Google Home will get much better over time, because it's a learning process for them. And whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, we're talking about machine learning, deep learning, and I remember one of my students asked me about what's the difference between the three. I hear about artificial intelligence, I hear about the machine learning and deep learning. And I give him a very simple example. Machine learning is asking the computer to get to get the pictures of people smiling. I'll give the computer with that algorithm 1,000 pictures and find the people who are smiling. And I already program it in a way to look at if the lips are opened in a certain way, then this is smile. And so the computer will scan the 1,000 pictures and get, let's say, 200 pictures. That's machine learning. Find a cat, that's a cat. Find somebody smiling, that's smiling. Now that's machine learning. Deep learning is why they're smiling. Is that a real smile? Is that a fake smile? Is that an anger smile? If that's a defense mechanism smile, that's deep learning. And both of them are running under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. And this is what I'm trying to get. When we talk about Siri, when we talk about Alexa, when we talk about Google Home. If I talk to Alexa, if I talk to Siri, the tone in my voice makes a big difference. It's an urgent. Is it, calm? I mean it. I'm smirking about it. That's deep learning. And that's what we're trying to get, nowadays when it comes to processing here. So collecting this data is one thing. Sorting, analyzing, and making sense of it is a completely different. And this is what I meant by when I talk about the data scientists. They spend about 80% of their time cleaning the data and make the data something useful we can use in the next stage. Two conditions we need. Actually, so we can get the full benefits of the IoT data: speed of the analytics or the big data analysis, and the accuracy. Speed, we are pushed around because of the sheer volume and velocity and variety of the data itself, and also the accuracy. We are collecting something good. Garbage in, garbage out. We're not just collecting data which is repetitive data or data that means nothing or false data. And you have to deal with both of them. If you are talking about artificial intelligence, you have to deal with the speed and the accuracy. Now, if you bring both together, the artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things here, or the IoT data analytics, artificial intelligence can help in actually 6 areas. And I'm going to go over all of them in detail so we can have a good understanding of that process. So, first is data preparation, data discovery, visualization of the streaming data, reading from the screen, time series, accuracy of data, predictive, and analytic data here. And the last one is real time, allocation here. Let's talk about the first one, data preparation. So again, remember that we are talking about how the artificial intelligence helping IoT in data analytics. Because I can, and I gave a very simple example to the partnership between artificial intelligence and IoT. You go to a conference and you have a booth in that conference or that show, and you start collecting those business cards. This is the data that you're collecting. And you have this huge stack of data, of business cards. And you go back to your office and it's sitting there on your desk. Now you have this data. What are you going to do with it? That's the second phase, which is, okay, now somebody smart, somebody who has intelligence will go through the business cards and then sort them out and then talk to and call, email, reach out to the people who gave us or gave you the business cards here. That is the artificial intelligence part of that. So we have the data, we need the processes. The first one is preparation, defining the pool of data and clean them, which will take us to the concept of dark data and data lakes. So dark data is a fascinating concept, and you're welcome to check my LinkedIn. I have an article about that, and that dark data is a data that nobody is touching, because 90% of the data we have is dark data, and we only process 10% of big data, which is the one that is useful for us. So we are missing a lot when it comes to dark data, and there are companies that are diving into dark data, trying to get as much as possible. An example of this one is old information about customers, sales logs that will be done, all these things that people are put aside, or your tax return of the company from 10 years ago, and it's sitting there and nobody is touching that. There is a relationship between this data and if somebody can find a way to connect all these, old, new, future data, and make sure that it's using everything available for them to squeeze the last drop of data, that will help. Data lakes is dumping everything on a pool and then thinking about it later. And this is a concept that's used by companies like HP, and where you can just dump this data, and then later on we'll go and swim in this, lake of data, and then we'll get the data there. It's exactly like you are putting everything on the side. I'll go back and check it. I'll find whatever is good for me. Data discovery, finding useful data in the defined pools of data, which is related to whatever your business is. If I'm the business of selling shoes, then I'll be more important about feedback from the customers, problems with size, problems with materials, referral to other customers. So I would be looking at, okay, what is useful data here? And this data, the data discovery, or the data discovery coming from the legal term. And if you've ever been in any legal proceedings, you know that there's something called discovery, which you interview people and you try to ask them questions before you even start anything, before you start the trial, before you start any kind of legal, procedures, that you go and ask for information, ask for documentation, and meet with people, and then try to build the most important element. And that's exactly what happened in the data discovery. Now, don't lose, the line of thinking here, and don't lose track of what we are trying to do is to find something which is useful for us, something that we can grab this data and make sure that it's done fast and accurate. And starting from preparation or from the discovery, that's what we need. We need to go through the process using the artificial intelligence. Now, the next one is the one which is the favorite of many of the startups and the VCs, which is visualization of the streaming data. And that will make me happy to see real time what's going on from a sensor that is attached to one of the pipelines of some oil or gas, or some kind of a traffic light that is creating a lot of problems. I'm looking at the streaming data there. The other thing is that on the fly, dealing with the streaming data. So you look at this streaming data and you say, okay, so artificial intelligence can give me this streaming data, can visualize it in shape of charts, in some kind of nice interface. All the startups I met with, all of them, they spend a lot of time making sure that the UI, the user interface, is brilliant and attractive. And I'm with that 100%. Because from the other side of the equation here, the person who will get or buy or or take your platform, he or she has to make it easy for him or her to run it. And the user experience is as important as the user interface. So you have to make sure that the tools given to them by visualizing the streaming data, so they can make decisions, discovering data, visualizing it in a smart way, to make it easy for decision making. There is a threshold. If you hit that one, we're gonna click this one. You can play with those parameters. The dashboard, basically the dashboard, you see it in many of the business intelligence systems. That's what we're looking for here. And this is important for the processing of the data, because the last thing any customer or client company will look at it, they don't want to go through the mathematical equations or try to connect the dots here. They would like something easy for them to visualize it and say, okay, this is what we have, and this is how we're going to make our decision. The fourth one is something which is the time series accuracy of the data, keeping the level of confidence in data collected high with high accuracy. Now, if you took any classes in statistics, you know about the confidence level, or the, and how the confidence level, which is, I don't want to go through the mathematical details, but you have alpha over 2, and you have to have it within a certain range. If it's outside that range, that's the confidence, you can define this on 95%, 97%, 99%. So you have to make sure that you are within the statistical confidence level. And to explain what is the confidence level here is, which means if I'm not going to take the whole data. I'm going to take 90% of the data. I still have the correct answer. Example of this one, if you would like to study a class or study a group of customers, you have 1,000 customers. If you took 900 of them, you still have the same result if you took 1,000. Taking out the outliers here. That's your confidence in your data. And this can be done by artificial intelligence algorithm that will confirm that to you. Don't worry, you took only 80%, still have the same confidence in the data as if you take 90%. And the reason for this one, you want to process it fast, you want to make sure that it's correct. Big topic, predictive and advanced analytics, big topic. If I know the future, I will be the richest person on earth. Give me 5 minutes of the future or the insight in the future for the stock market, and I will be the richest person on earth. Because that's not an insight. That's not an insight or even trading. This is knowing the future. And this is what they are trying to do. If you can see into the future by using the past and the present and some parameters and some algorithm, you will get into the predictive and advanced analytics. It's a very important step where decision can be made based on data collected, discovered, and analyzed. You are anticipating. You're one step ahead of the customer. You're 2 steps ahead of your competition. And your customer, they don't have to wait. They don't have to wait until they place the order. You're already offering them, okay, we will offer you this. Amazon is working on a project, and I have a glimpse of what they're doing, where this algorithm will predict your need and put them in the shopping cart. So next time when you go to their website, what are you going to say? Well, how do they know that I need this? And I need this one too. I need this one. It's not just other people who buy this one, buy this. It's different. It's basically they're telling you. They're taking initiative by saying, we know you need that. And this is not a simple, algorithm. This is a huge, predictive algorithm or artificial intelligence, way for them to make sure that they remind you about what's missing. Oh, I hope that somebody told me about this one. We're missing this. We're missing this one. The same thing. You can scale this one up to the companies, and once you scale it up to the companies, you'll understand that you are the one who's making the sales. You are the one who's making the call, not the customer. And if we can get to that level where the customer will listen and say, yeah, you're right, I need this, then we're actually getting to this level. And this cannot be done without the 2 elements, the data from the IoT and the algorithm from artificial intelligence. And the last one is talking about, the real-time geospatial and which is the logistic data, maintaining the flow of data smooth and under control. Now, we tend to miss this element, which is, okay, I send the data, I receive it. Okay, what happened in between? I mean, how can I make sure that it's keep coming? Like what we have now. Some of you have a problem with my audio here. If we have an intelligent algorithm that will sense the levels of the audios and try to compress it and try to alert me about, okay, raise the volume, do this and that. That's another story. So those are the 6 elements here, and I'll go back and run over them very quickly. Data preparation, data discovery, visualization of stream data, and time series accuracy of the data itself. predictive and in advance analytics, and the real time and the location or the logistics of the data itself. So if we have a knowledge about this, about how to use artificial intelligence to help IoT in the 6 areas here, we're getting to the point where, AI and IoT can work together. Some applications here. Visual big data, for example, computer can gain deeper understanding of images on screen. And this can be good for, national security. It can be good for, so many of the application that needs an image there to understand it. And I can tell you something like for medication, for the tracking of the medicine with the big pharma companies there. All of these things can use that. The image is an easy way for communication. What means, it's common, and the old saying about when, an image is 1,000 words, it's correct. It's actually more than that. So we can use this one to understand the image there. And, the medical field is huge about this. We're talking about MRI and the scanning of the body, and you're talking about all these applications where they will give you an insight about it. And talking to this friend, he works at NVIDIA, and I really appreciate him coming, and giving a lecture about this. It's going to get to the point where the involvement of artificial intelligence in collecting and analyzing the data itself will make it easier for people like technicians and medical assistants and nurse to look at to get the information and use this algorithm to analyze what is the problem with this image of the scan of my body here, instead of having the specialist and the doctor there for every single step of that. So after they scan it, after they have it, there's an analysis about this one. Then you can, so you're saving time, you're saving those skills, you're opening the of that specialist or that doctor to treat more people. So this is by just looking at that, by improving the process of looking at the images here. Cognitive systems here will create a new recipes, for example, for the user sense of taste. I keep telling my students, whether it's the undergraduate, the graduate, tell them, I will believe we are in the future when I can print my food. When I can have my food with a 3D printer, actually fourth, because we're talking about the taste, or if I can print that hot, chicken there, place the order, and then they send the material, and then I can print it at my home, then we are really, really in the future. Maybe we will get to that. I'm not saying we're not going to get to that. But look at this one here. Looking at the cognitive systems that create new recipes that appeal to the user's sense of taste, optimize the menus for each individual. So it's not what's the catch of the day. It's this one size fits all. This is one thing, you see it in the restaurant. You're technically under the mercy of what will be on the menu instead of customizing. It's like you're sitting home. Okay, I'd like to make this. I'd like to make that. Adopt ingredients. And sometimes to some of the ingredients that it is, some issues with some religious or some, diet, that will be adopted to this one. Now no, this is not recommended because you're so-and-so, you're on diet, or you should not take that. Hearing. Now here's one important element, and I give actually a lecture about this. There's this new, there's a new interface, which is the user voice interface. We have the graphical user interface, we have the voice user interface. Now, if you think about it for a second, the spoken words talk is actually the most used way and methods to communicate among humans. It's not the touching, it's not seeing, it is talking. And that's why it's you see companies, big companies like Google, companies like Amazon, companies like including Intel, inside that the whole process. See that they are focusing on something the speech artificial intelligence, conversational AI, and the term you're gonna hear it, voice user interface, VUI. That is the direction I mean, if you watch old movies or new movies or movies of the sci-fi movies, you'll see that they communicating with machines by voice. Nobody will go, and a few times you'll see them touching the machine and pressing on certain buttons there, or looking at the machine and then reading, whatever they have. It's the voice itself. So hearing, getting, information about the user environment. We see that one a lot in Xbox. We see this on PlayStation. We see this one in Alexa. And there are famous cases of Alexa that solve a murder case in Arkansas. Where they check the history of what's going on with this, and they found he was there in the house and he killed that person. There are famous cases about this. So the next phase with artificial intelligence is the voice, the speech user interface. And it's easy for you to talk than to press with this one. Give me this and this. And this is one big thing we're missing in the equation. We're focusing on, other senses accept this. But the big companies, they realize this one and they're jumping into this band. That's why we have all these Google assistants. We have, Apple, and we have Amazon with that. Amazon is a leader in that part, connecting and remote operations with smart and connected. I'd like to talk about this because this was actually an issue, an issue happening with this. So workers no longer have to move the warehouses, picking the goods, and we see videos about this one where you have robots that know their way, they never hit each other. There's no community between them, ever. They have their route, they go with a certain speed, and you see them crossing each other path, and they are really in sync, and they don't need light. The warehouse is dark because robots, they don't need light, so they can just go and find it based on the sensors and bring it to the humans so they can process that. Very nice. So let's talk about the challenges. So we talk about how can artificial intelligence will help the IoT. Let's talk about some of the challenges facing IoT. And I have 5. And each one of them is really a chance and opportunity for a startup, for people to think about it and overcome the challenge and come up with some answers. In the business side of whatever I'm teaching at the university is, I keep telling my student, if you are an MBA student, if you're a business person, the problem word, the word itself, which is the word problems, if you say, it's not in your dictionary. If you hear somebody saying, I have a problem, you cross this one out and replace it with hidden opportunities. So we take the word problem from our dictionary and always replace it with a hidden opportunity. So the minute I say challenge is problem, that's an opportunity. And this is what I told, the group of the student who came to look at the challenges that I told them, each one of them is an opportunity waiting for somebody to take advantage of. So let's dive in. Number 1, compatibility. IoT is a collection of many parts, systems. They're different in both time and space and design and everything. Compatibility is a problem. And I just mentioned this. How many companies we talk about? We're talking about Google, we're talking about Intel, we're talking about SAP, we're talking about IBM, we're talking about, Apple. All of these companies, they want to dominate the market. Each one of them would like to be the leader in this market. They don't want to share that, anything of their, if their market or their customers to anyone. I don't see that Apple will open the base to Google so Google Home will communicate with Siri and Siri will communicate with Google. So it doesn't matter which one which assistant you're going to use, it's going to give you the same results. Everybody want to be a dominant, and that compatibility will be a problem. Now, can we find a gateway, some kind of an interface that will make them talk to each other? Can we have this the different parts of the IoT talk to each other? And how is that difficult for the artificial intelligence? It's really difficult because each one of them has their own operating system, their own design, architect, all these things. So, and that's talking about a completely different one. It's really a challenging, endeavor for you to think about the compatibility of the different devices. I mean, just look around you. I mean, my dream, and the thing that I hope one day we can have it, is something similar to what Windows came up with, which is plug and play. I will get the device, I will get the whatever part of the smart house or home there or car, and I plug that part there. I get it from Cisco, I get it from Dell, I get it from any company. I just plug it in, and it's going to work with the rest of the devices. And that's the challenging part of it. And this goes back to a very important concept of standardization. And I have an article about standardization of the IoT standardizations here. We're lacking that. We don't have it. There are a lot of good efforts trying to push the companies to have a unified standard. So it doesn't matter what, from where I'm looking at my computer here. I have the monitor from Gateway, which is gone. I have my, my keyboard from Dell, and I have my computer from HP, and I have my mouse from Logitech, and I have my camera from Logitech. And they're working nicely, beautiful with each other. This is what you need. And this is all unified by an operating system. Drivers, connected, you're done with that. It's complicated. It's really complicated. IoT is a complicated system. It's a system of systems. You bring them together, and you want them to talk to each other. And there are a lot of moving parts here. And the key thing is the non-stop streaming of data that make it very difficult, for a complicated, ecosystem here. So this is the key thing about it. It's complex. It needs a lot of processing power, and the algorithm itself, will be an evolving algorithm. I mean, the case of having 10,000 things or pieces talking to each other is not the same as having a million. Now we're talking about billions of them, and you need to understand how complicated it is, so you can elevate the level of your algorithm, of your artificial intelligence platform. And my favorite, which is the PSS, privacy, security, safety. I'll go back and refer you to a paper I wrote before, and it's called 3 Key Challenges Facing IoT. There are actually 3. It's not just IoT. Any trend, any new things, and we think about it. Any new invention here, we'll face 3 challenges. The first one is technology. The second one is business. The third one is society. Technology, do we have the technology for that? And if it's there, then we pass the first test. Business, what's in it for me as a business person? Why should I invest in the new, Bitcoin? Why I should invest with its dollars now? A crazy evaluation. The real money is about $3 billion. The evaluation of the Bitcoin is $120 billion because of the speculation and the hopes and the future. And the third one is society. And society is 2 parts: the government and the citizens. And this is where we're really looking at it now, which is privacy, security, and safety. It's always an issue with every new technology or concept. How can artificial intelligence help us with that? They're going after the big companies, Facebook, Google, Twitter, all of these companies, because of what's going on about problems with the 2016 elections and the ads that bought by some of the agents of foreign countries, how they don't have safeguards for this. And they see signs of this one. And this goes back to, should I have a human? Should I have an algorithm? Should I have 10,000 new employees, or should I have a smart platform that will weed out this one, or give me some signals telling me, listen here? And how can we really have this trade-off, privacy, security, and safety? How can you have something which is secure and fast, secure, and it is and private and safe at the same time? The solutions, which is the blockchain, and the blockchain is a different technology. It's the underlying technology of the Bitcoin. It's basically a distributed ledger. Just to understand what's the blockchain, I'll give you a very simple example about it to understand the difference between the current system we have for the IoT or for the network and the use of the blockchain technology in securing the IoT. Current system we have here, the current is the client server, which is single point of failure, which is you have a centralized group of servers, or a server that will control the flow of the data. It's exactly like the examples of, you have a building and you have a security guard standing at the door, and he or she will check the IDs of everybody. Once you're in, and you're part of the system. Many problems with this one. That person could fool that security guard, forge that ID, bribe that security guard, many things. Once that bad actor in or agent in, he or she can damage the system. Now, the blockchain is different. Every single person in that building is a security guard. And based on the parameters, okay, I would like to have, out of 100 people in that building, I would like to have 80 people of them who will confirm that new faces in the building are really good, no problem with them. So if they see that person and they have a way to communicate to each other, I've seen this person is good, and then they confirm it, and you hit that 80% or whatever threshold we have there, that person will be accepted in the building. Now you can bribe one, but you cannot bribe 80. You can fool one, but you cannot fool 80. And you can scale this one up to how many nodes you'd like them to confirm the new transaction here. So it's a simple way of understanding what is blockchain. The next one is talking about the ethical and legal issues. Ethical and legal issues is another thing. One of the things that will always comes up when we talk, or one of the issues that comes up when we talk about artificial intelligence and the decision made by an algorithm is a car that is autonomous car, and you have one person on the side and you have a group of people on the other side, and you have to hit one of them because you are speeding, you can't stop. Which one you should go with? Should you hit, run over one or run over 10? This is the case of people talk about it. So whoever wrote that code or that algorithm for the car to make that decision, can we sue that person if something bad happened to one or many? And based on what? There was a famous movie that, iRobot, which is one of my favorites. I've seen it at least 400, 500 times. That movie there is a scene about that robot saving, Will Smith instead of the girl, because the probability of him being saved is a little bit higher. It's like 50%, and for her to be saved 30%, and a number will make the decision about saving your life or not. Is that ethical? Is that legal? How can we deal with that? So this is another thing, and nothing will make the legal community happy more than to see some laws and some rules they can follow when it comes to these cases. It's all new. This is an emerging and rapidly emerging field. The last one is something I call it artificial stupidity. Back to the very simple concept of garbage in, garbage out. The system is a system. The computer is a computer that you run the computer. You enter the information, you process the information, you get the result based on the data you get. If you have bad data, you'll have bad decisions. And that's one important thing you have to understand about artificial intelligence compared to artificial stupidity. Jack Ma, Ma of the Alibaba, they asked him about what Elon Musk and said about the machines will take over. Artificial intelligence is a dangerous thing. We have to be very careful we deal with it. And he has a beautiful answer, and I still remember that answer because it really makes sense to if you think about it. He said, yes, the machines, when they have the artificial intelligence, they're smart. They can do it better than the human. They're very smart when it is come to that part. But they will do what you program them to do, and they will do it better and faster and more accurate. But they don't know why they're doing that. And that brings us to one issue here. There is artificial intelligence. If we get to the stage of artificial wisdom, now I'm going to be worried about the case of Skynet and Terminator. Yes, because now the machine will make decision for me. This is good for you, this is not good for you. And this is called artificial wisdom compared to artificial intelligence. And this is the stage where the lowest one, which is artificial stupidity. So you can have this goes up and up to the level of the artificial wisdom, where the machine will understand why we're doing this and what is the reason for us, reasoning of the decisions. The human have that, the machine they don't have that. At least at this stage, at what we know so far. The conclusion here is just to summarize everything here. It's impressive. That IoT is impressive system of all systems. It's really, does not amount to much without a good artificial intelligence. You have the muscles, beautiful body. You don't want to deal with a stupid person. You deal with somebody who's have some intelligence to use this muscle, to use this power. They have to reach the same level of development, which is you have the software, you have the hardware going to the same speed. It's at the same time you make sure that they are really communicating with each other. And this is the branch I'm talking about, the analytics of the IoT, which is a lot of companies are really working, small, big, medium startups, whatever. Here, this one, and the other branch is the security, which is another side of the equation here. But they have to work together in this. They're trying to find ways to make intelligent data analysis software. It's make it easy for us to understand. So the devices themselves will be smart. They're not going to be fooled. I mean, we have denial of service attack. We have denial of sleep attack, which is for the sensors to keep the sensors going up again and again until they start giving wrong data for you. And this is part of the hacking of the data itself. And time will tell. Time will tell. For the artificial intelligence is really catching up with whatever we have here. But and with companies like NVIDIA and their graphical processing units, how they help with the processing of the images and give us an insight about what's inside those images, will help to the artificial intelligence to catch up with the spread of the different devices of IoT and how they communicate with each other. So integrating both, it's a requirement for success. One statement that I think, or one discussion I have with that professor from Berkeley, you would like to have a network that is secure and smart. You don't have a network that is smart but it's insecure, or a network that it is secure but it is dumb. You need both. And the same thing applies for the IoT here. So they can deliver the value and combine the combination, the company and combining AI and IoT will force that. This will take me to the final conclusion, which is, yes, artificial intelligence is actually the catalyst of IoT. Without artificial intelligence, you have just data. You don't have insights. And that's the difference here. So it's going to go a long way for us to see that one in real life in smart cities, in cars, but it is not far, in our lifetime here. So I'll leave my information here for a second. So if somebody would like to get that info, you're welcome to join me at LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to have you part of my network. And this is my email at San Jose State, and this is my Twitter account. Okay, so let me see. I have some questions here. I have it is saying it's not so obvious in the data according to the dude. That is correct. That is correct, and that's why you need the artificial intelligence. That it is asking garbage in, garbage out is not so obvious in big data according to the new data science. Interpretation of data is based on pattern, not individual records. That is absolutely. That's I'm with you 100%. I'm looking at the garbage in, garbage out, and this is high scale of garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so if there is no more questions, then thank you so much for all of you. I think we're getting to the end of the speech here, or the webinar. Let me summarize what we're talking about. IoT is the muscle, and the artificial intelligence is the brain. They have to work together. And the key thing is data. Data is the new oil. Data is where the money is. And the more understanding of the data, and the more insight you have, the closer you're going to be the customer. My belief is that your distance from your customer should be zero. You can see, you can feel, you can hear the customer, before anybody else. And once you get to that stage, your business will be good. Thank you to all of you. I think 2 minutes left. Okay. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if you have them. Have a good night, everybody.